Quick content warning. We here at Zombies Go Home are not classified as family friendly, and our content is not meant for young viewers and or children. This video and or stream may contain profanity, crude humor, and other humor not meant for children under age 14. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Hello everyone. How do you do? I hope you are well. It's very hard to hear me, you say. Let us try to fix that. Let's turn the music down some. Let's try this. How does this sound now? Is that a little bit better? Why, hello there, Inkter J. I'm surprised you don't remember me. Is that any better? I hope so. Still a tad soft. How's that? Is that any better? Can you hear me just a bit more now? Hopefully I'm not too loud. There we go. Awesome. A good evening to you all. I hope you are well. He's just distracted. He's getting ready for a convention. I didn't need to make the drop of coffee today. He had too much on his mind as it was, so I just thought I would take over for a bit. And yes, we do need to get some hearts in the chat. Thank you very much, Panda. I saw that you upgraded your membership, and I hella appreciate it. Please, peeps, get some hearts in the chat. I would very much appreciate it tonight. But yes, hello, how are you all? I hope you are well, and I hope you're having a good night. What have you been up to? What mischief have you made? It has been so long since I've been around, and since I've been able to read some interesting tales. Murder Cat is back. Yes, hello. How do you do, Viren? I'm gonna get this right here. Gotta turn these pages here. Gotta find the right story. We have Viren here. You know, Viren was there at my introduction, as well as I was there at Viren's introduction to this channel. I think maybe we should celebrate this with a special story tonight. Huh. That seems very rough, Aaron. I do apologize. Oh, yes, spooky stories indeed. Very spooky stories. I do apologize. I do know that originally there was going to be a grand bonfire tonight to tell spooky stories, but apparently our lovely human decided to leave the holy shit. What just happened? What the hell was that? Oh my god. Viren, thank you. Totes Viren. Viren, thank you very much for that lovely donation. That is very much appreciated. Oh, what? Was that not you? Well, hearts regardless of whoever it is. You think you know who it is? Oh, you should clue me in. I'm curious. But yes, we were planning on a grand bonfire tonight, but our lovely human left the logs out in the rain. It makes it kind of hard to light a wet log. So the bonfire will be coming during November, and it should be a lot of fun. There will be spooky stories as well as just grand stories in general to tell. So don't worry, that is still coming. That is still very much a thing. It just couldn't happen tonight. Hopefully he's learned his lesson. But yes, we will still be having scary stories. He asked me to take over for him as he decides to prepare something special for you guys at the con. Should be quite interesting. I do feel we could add a few more hearts in here, though. That was a lovely donation. Plus, we have Panda who just upgraded their membership, and that is no small feat. That is a big deal. Members help us out a ton around here. They're pretty much what keeps the lights on, and what keep me in telling fun stories. Ah, hello, Pressstone. How do you do this evening? I hope you are well. Are you interested in hearing some scary stories as well? Things that may keep you up at night. Yes, that is very dated. Oh, you're okay. Well, that is good to hear. And I am fantastic. I have returned to the stream to tell some glorious tales, and it has been far too long since my last moment here. You're out. As in you have to go to bed? If so, I wish you good night. Yes, it is quite late, and we usually don't stream on Thursdays, but it was about time that we do so, at least every once in a while. Plus, with all the grand support from all of you, I feel that it's time that I support y'all a little bit more as well myself. Ah, you're outdoor dashing. Let's have some tales to help you on your way. Oh, you're going to lurk while you play Persona 5 Royal. There's another grand cat in that one. I do like that game very much, so yes, I do. But that's because I'm partial to cats. We all know this. Oh, I haven't heard this in a while. Ah, this takes me back. Let's have ourselves something fun then, shall we? So I think that I want to celebrate this and celebrate my return and my reuniting with Viren here with Viren's favorite story, his favorite creepypasta, as well as a fan favorite for many, many peeps around here. We're going to go with the Russian sleep experiment tonight. What do you say? Sounds fun, no? A little bit of science in our day. Ivan would be so proud of me. Ah, that got really loud. Let's turn that down just a smidge. Oh, Kami has not heard this one yet. Oh, they're in for quite a treat then. Quite a treat indeed. Give me a sec here. I have to move a couple things around. Let's just move this here. Take a look at that right there. Let's get this. Okay, let's see. And we gotta move that there. And I gotta make sure I can properly read this for you guys. So let's grab this and move this where I can properly see it. And let's get ourselves a proper soundtrack for this tonight. What do you say? Let's try this. I think that works. Okay. So, pull the chat up so I can read as we go along with this. Now, my reading to chat will be a little slowed as I go through this, but it will still be there. I do hope you're all ready. By the way, I would advise if you need to go ahead and grab your drink and cozy up in a nice warm spot with a very comfortable blanket. We're going to be here for a little while. So let's see what we have here today. Let's see. The Russian sleep experiment. The Russian sleep experiment. Let's see what we have. There we go. Ah, yes, a great tale. The Russian sleep experiment. The author of this, to this day, is still unknown. It has floated around the internet for many, many, many years, and is a fantastic tale. A tale of warning and a tale of caution. A tale of one's hubris. The Russian sleep experiment. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised, falsely mind you, that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for the full 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past, and the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering to the microphones and one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber, repeatedly yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight. He continued attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researcher postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it. Or rather, how they didn't react to it. They continued whispering to the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The two non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page with their own feces, and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. And the screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering to the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it impossible that no sound could be coming with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor, or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." To their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice response. "We no longer want to be freed." Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was opened, and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state that any of them were in as life. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs, and the chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects, if you can call that surviving, also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination of the position and the angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the rib cage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped away, exposing the lungs through the rib cage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid upon the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber and alternately begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from that chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped off and an artery in his leg severed by one of the subject's teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives, if you count ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured, and he bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arms of one doctor. When heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he had bled out to the point there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word "more" over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room in the facility. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints, and when the anesthesia... Sorry about that, everyone. When the anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under, he managed to tear most of the way through the 4-inch wide leather straps on his wrist. Even though the weight of a 200-pound soldier was holding that wrist well, it took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had triple the normal level of oxygen. His muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force of his own muscles. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested, reluctantly, they try the surgery without anesthetic, and did not react for the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that this should be medically possible. Oh, there's an error here. That it shouldn't be medically possible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so the patient could write his message. And it was simple. Keep cutting. The other two test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with a paralytic for the duration of the operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation while the patients laughed continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. Only one response was given. I must remain awake. All three subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back into the chamber, awaiting determination as to what should be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of their military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, an ex-KGB, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all three stopped struggling the moment it was let slip, and they were going back on the gas. It was obvious that at this point, all three were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against leather bonds with all his might. First left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining subject was holding his head off his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired for EEG, most of the researchers were monitoring his brain waves in surprise. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he were repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor, only one nurse saw his eyes slip shut. At the same moment, his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed his gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed, as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. "I won't be locked in here with these things! Not with you!" he screamed at the man strapped on the table. "What are you?" he demanded. "I must know!" The subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily?" the subject asked. We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at any moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to that nocturnal haven where we cannot tread. The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject weakly choked out. So nearly free. And there you have it. The Russian sleep experiment. How do you do, everyone? I hope you are well, and I hope you enjoyed that thrilling story. It's one of my absolute favorites, and I hope that I read it well. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's actually the first time I've read that one out loud. Why, hello there, Kami. How do you do? Face twitch. You gotta excuse me on those. Those happen every once in a while. Yes. It is absolutely one of the best creepypastas to ever exist. Also, hello, Foxy. How are you? I have missed telling creepypastas and scary stories. I've missed it so much. But yes, welcome everyone. How do you do? So we've had some peeps that snuck in. How are you all? Give me a sec. Gotta look these pages here. This is one of my favorite tales of all time. It is probably one of the best written creepypastas, and its author is still unknown to this day, sadly. But it is absolutely fantastic. I find myself going back to read this quite often. It is absolutely phenomenal. Let's see who all has joined us. We've had Foxy and Kami and Danny have joined us since we started. How are all of you lovely peeps? How are you doing tonight? Hope you're getting into the spooky mood and enjoying some spooky good times now. Let's play some different music, though. I've got a couple of other stories to tell you tonight. Have one I'm really excited to tell everybody. One of my personal favorites. One that a lot of people don't seem to know. Makes me a little sad. So I gotta fix that. Why, hello there, Jack. How are you? Welcome. Come, sit. Grab yourself a cup of coffee or some other warm beverage of your choice. And a warm blanket. Wrap yourself up on the couch and sit here with us a while as we go through some of the best in internet creepypasta. Internet urban legend, basically. Urban legend, lore, and scary tales. What are you doing? What does it look like I'm doing? I'm telling stories. That's what I've been doing. My name is Ashford, by the way. Nice to meet you, Jack. Ah, you just missed a fantastic tale. Doing very well, just started reading, so perfect vibes while listening to these stories. Ah, sounds absolutely fantastic. For me, I prefer to curl up next to the fire. But to each their own. Let's see. Ten Red Bulls. I do not need coffee. Ah. One sec here. I have to check something here. No, this is definitely not someone that I would have seen. Ah, thank you for subscribing. Sure, any Bob Barker creepypastas must get to you. Oh, they do. Oh, they do indeed. Just the mention of his name, just... Not a fan of the man. He upsets me. I'm rather attached to things that he wants me to not be attached to. And I rather keep them right where they belong, if you know what I mean. Jack, are you okay? You okay? I really hope you're okay there. I really do. If you say so, if you're sure. Ah, how are you, Blaze? I hope you're well. Welcome. We're telling scary stories tonight. In just a moment, I'm going to be starting up my next one, and I'm very excited for it. It's one of my all-time favorite stories. I'm kind of sad that not enough people know about it. But that changes tonight. It's one that'll definitely keep you up at night, though. Constantly keep you looking at the corner of your eyes. Sometimes things are in the dark, and they are ready for you. Sorry, I had to take a sip of something. You'd be surprised. This is a tale called The Gristers. It's a tale that'll prey on fears of the dark, fears of the unknown, and fears of the shadows. But more importantly, it will prey on the fears of your own paranoia, of what lurks just out of sight. The Gristers is one of my favorite creepypastas of all time. I heard this many, many years ago. It was one of the stories that actually fully sparked my love for creepypasta as a medium. So I do hope that y'all enjoy it. Let's set the mood, shall we? I think this will work. Will this work? No. Works for most things. I do love this, but this just will not work. Ah. There we go. Also, a happy birthday to your brother, Jack. I hope they're having a fine one. Okay. Let us begin with the tale of the Gristers. Just gonna turn the page. There we are. Okay, zombies, or whatever creepy board this makes its way onto. I put it here because I thought it would get the most people to whom it was relevant. If you are one of those people who are inherently drawn to horror, you're in real danger. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't pretend to know everything that's going on. In fact, I myself used to be drawn to the more realistic, non-supernatural creepypastas. But let me explain. About a year ago, I was up at 3 in the morning. You know, that part of the night where you're so deep into it, it feels like it will never end. Anyways, I was up, clicking around, looking for a good creepypasta I hadn't read before. Really getting myself freaked out. You know the feeling, I'm sure of it. You like the feeling. And that's the problem. Anyway, I'm reading, and I hear a pattering sound coming from the kitchen. I had a cat. Oh, is it me? So I just assumed it was her. But then I glanced on my bed, and my cat was there. Now I've been freaking myself out for a while here, so I was nearly trembling with fear as I opened my bedroom door. I live alone, in a single-bedroom apartment with just a bedroom, a kitchen, a living room, and a bathroom. My bedroom door opens up onto the kitchen. It was pitch black, the moonlight gleaming off the linoleum. I strained my ears and listened, but I heard nothing. I admonished myself for being such a fucking pussy. It was just a random house noise, right? Or maybe a fucking mouse in the walls. I was about to turn around and head back into my room when I heard it again. And I saw something scatter across the linoleum in the kitchen, heading for the bathroom. It was small, but it was definitely not a rat. The limbs were way, way too long. The torso was far too high off the ground, and the way it moved quickly, but so awkwardly. In any other circumstance, I might have laughed at it. As it was, though, I was scared shitless. So, you know, I basically freeze for like 10 minutes. It was the size of the thing that convinced me to move, no matter how weird or fucked up it was. It was so much smaller than me. It couldn't have been that dangerous, right? So I pop open the bathroom door. Before I turn on the light, I do a quick scan. Nothing. I flick the switch. I look around. Still nothing. I look on the ceiling even. I throw the shower curtain open. Nothing. Huh. What could it have been? My mind started inventing explanations. It definitely had 4 limbs. Maybe it was a big-ass spider who had lost 4 of its legs somehow. That could explain the awkward movement. It was good enough for me. I was about to go back to bed when I thought, on a whim, to use my broom to poke behind the toilet between the wall and the base of the seat. When I did, I hit something solid, and it scurried out. It looked like a tiny human. It was pale white, pale as a maggot, with dirty gray streaks running along its skin. It moved on all 4s with long, thin fingers that grasped the ground. Its skull was completely bald, and it had no eyes, and the skin looked like it had been torn away from the lower half of its face, leaving the exposed teeth and gums. It looked up at me. Well, pointed its face in my general direction anyway. And then scurried, quick as fuck, up the side of the bath and down into the drain. It moved in quick bursts like a spider and climbed straight up smooth surfaces like one too. After it disappeared down the drain, I just stood there, frozen, broom handle still in my hand, for a good 5 minutes. I was scared shitless. I slowly backed out of the bathroom and closed the door, and then stuffed a blanket in the crack between the floor and the door, fearing that it might come out. Then I sat in my bed and wondered what I could do. I mean, it wasn't like I could call the police, or even tell any of my friends. It's not like they'd even believe me. So what do I do? Well, I made a thread here. It was quite a while ago, almost a year. You might even remember it. It wasn't anything special, and it didn't even get that many responses before falling off the boards. I guess people thought I was just joking, which really, I would have thought the same thing. My thread, in retrospect, sounds exactly like the type of threads I hate. But besides from all the OP is a slur here and other nasty responses there was one other one. I've seen them too, man. Along with an email address that I'm not going to give out here. So I email the kid, right? Right away he responds, and we start up a conversation in IRC. He introduces himself as John, and basically tells me a very similar story. One night, a few months ago, reading Creepypasta, he heard a noise. He got up, and he saw the small, pale man. His was a bit bigger. He says about the size of a house cat. But he also told me one other thing. That I would be seeing more of them. He said that ever since he saw the first one, he's been seeing more and more of them. Just out everywhere, even in the street during the day. They were everywhere. He even said once you noticed the first one, it got a lot easier to see all the other ones. He had no idea of what they were, and he hadn't figured out their behavior yet. He said that usually he saw them or heard them in his own home. He was reading Creepypasta, so they usually freaked him out, something awful. But, he said again, he had never actually seen them do anything terrible, just scurry out of sight. But, he said, some got pretty big, and not all of them look exactly the same. I still didn't sleep that night, but over the next week, and those that followed, I found that I did get used to them. I did see more of them. I'd glimpse them out of the corner of my eye, or see the retreading rear end of one crawling into a gutter pipe. or see their tiny faces staring out at the street from the sewers. Some, it seemed, weren't even trying to hide. I live in Providence, Rhode Island, which is a small city. On my way to work one day, I do take the bus. I was looking out the window and I saw a pretty large one, as large as a medium-sized dog, trotting along the sidewalk. People were just walking by it. Actually, I think that a lot of people saw it as a dog. One man stopped to scratch its head even. I'd always email John and tell him about all the appearances I saw. I even tried to catch some on camera, but they always heard the mechanical whirring and darted away before my camera could take a picture. I told myself I'd have to take a picture of one of the bigger, slower, monsters, I guess we'll call them. But either way, as the weeks wore on, I became more and more used to them. Sure, they were as creepy as shit, and I could never sit down on the toilet and enjoy a long shit anymore because I was paranoid as fuck. They'd climb up onto the bowl and bite me on my asshole. But they weren't really doing anything harmful. They unnerved the fuck out of me. But so do big spiders. I could live with them. John called them the Gristers, because he said they reminded him of the Grister meme on /X for some reason. I'm pretty sure he meant the Grifter meme, but the name Grister stuck. I continued my exchanges with John, but I noticed that he was becoming more and more tense. It was hard to tell over the text, but really, that was the only way to put it. I just figured that once the novelty of a shared experience had worn off, we didn't really have that much to talk about. John wasn't really my type. He was a steroid-pumping bodybuilder in southern Florida who lived with his mother. Also, I think I would be the same, Kami. But we started discussing Grister behavior, and he said his were starting to act a bit more differently than the ones I saw. He'd wake up at night, and they'd be perched at the end of his bed, staring at him with their eyeless faces. They wouldn't scurry away anymore. He said he woke up one time because one of them had actually started touching his face. That seemed pretty unnerving. This whole time I'd been putting out inquiries on the internet to see if anyone else had experienced this phenomenon. I couldn't be the only one, but no one came forward. Only on /X, most of my threads about the subject got removed, so eventually I stopped asking. But I have an inquisitive mind. I wanted to know what these things did, what exactly they were. I even wanted to capture one. Left out food and mouse traps, but none of these things ever went for it. My cat would notice them, though. She'd hiss at them, even chase them a couple of times. All those times I'd seen her do that, I'd assumed she was just being a dumbass cat, chasing at nothing. Something to remember, folks. It's never nothing when your cat's got the zoomies. One night, I was walking home from work alone. I work at a call center for a police charity, and my house is about 6 miles away. Had to stay late, so there was no bus to come pick me up. I didn't really have all that many friends, so I had to walk. Anyway, I was walking past some old abandoned brick houses. Really creepy shit. Let me tell you, when I heard some weird, low groan, that's when I happened to notice that there were a lot more Gristers than usual here. They were mostly ignoring me, but they were scurrying in and around one particular brick house. The groaning sound seemed to be coming from the alley beside it. Now, a lot of gristers was creepy enough, even without that low groaning noise. What made me decide to investigate? Fuck if I know. Morbid curiosity, maybe. I'm always looking for some creepy/gore stuff to post on the boards. I thought that maybe the groaning was some kind of wounded animal. So I approached the side of the house, noting that the windows were boarded up. The groaning, I should have known then it was no animal. It was a low, creaking, gurgling sound. Didn't sound like any fucking animal I knew. So I snuck down the alley. And when I saw what was making that noise, I nearly pissed myself. It was a fat, humongous grister, at least 8 feet wide, completely unable to move, with rolls of fat hanging down over its leg. It had no neck, just 14 chins leading up to its macabre exposed jaw. Dirty drool ran down its chin to cover its obscenely huge belly. Small gristers crawled in and out of the rolls of its fat. It rubbed itself with a pudgy claw, making that groaning, gurgling sound, which almost sounded sexual in nature. It was terrible. I know it doesn't sound like it, and objectively, I can think that a fat, cooing grister rubbing itself might sound pretty funny, actually. But in the presence of that thing, all I felt was a sick revulsion and disgust. But I kept in mind one thing, that I'd been looking for a picture of these things. So I busted out my camera phone and snapped a picture. I wish I hadn't. I really wish I hadn't. If I hadn't, I think maybe I could have lasted just a little bit longer. The minute I snapped the picture, the thing stopped groaning and swiveled its head towards me. All the gristers did, in fact. They all started hissing and screaming at me. A horrible, horrible fucking sound, like rusty nails on a chalkboard. I was thoroughly freaked out. To put things mildly, I lost my shit. I ran out of there as fast as I could, ran all the way home. Gristers didn't seem so harmless to me now. That noise they had made was straight out of hell. I didn't feel safe with the lights off anymore. I flipped all the lights on, scaring the shit out of my napping cat. I slammed the bathroom door shut, I stuffed a blanket around the cracks again, and then I sat down on my bed and looked at the picture I had taken. There it was, clear as day, that huge grister. Just looking at it made me feel sick. And of course I was going to post it immediately to the boards. I had to. I loaded it onto my computer and sent an email to John with the subject, "Will you look at this fat fuck?" Wow. Damn, I am a rude fuck, apparently. What an asshole. Then I immediately came to /X and began typing up my thread, explaining myself, explaining the gristers, explaining the photograph. I was just getting ready to post when John sent me a message. "Yo, man, no. Fuck, don't show that shit to anyone. Get rid of it now." I stopped. I replied to John, asking him what he was talking about. He told me. He said that he thought he'd figured out what was making the gristers around him more hostile. He said that he thought that when they figured out that he could see them, they started getting more aggressive. He showed me scratches he had all down his arm from clawing at him at night. He said that he'd seen a lot more of the bigger ones hanging around his house at night. They watched him through his windows. They knew that he could see them, and they didn't like it. And now, I was pretty sure that they all knew I could see them too. Fuck. So what did I do? In the end, I didn't post the picture. I wasn't too intimidated, but it probably saved a lot of you. I didn't want to trigger anyone else into being able to see these guys if it had dangerous consequences down the road. I didn't notice any behavior change right away. For a while, in fact. About 2 weeks even. The Gristers acted just the same way they had always done. Scurrying around, freaking out about lights. Grister behavior. Creepy little man behavior. I was beginning to think that John's problem was just his own thing. The Gristers didn't know or didn't care that I could see them. And then things started happening so fast. Holy shit, it changed in an instant. I woke up one night and there were 4 of them just perched around my bed staring at me. I freaked the fuck out and swept them away. And they just hissed that terrible noise at me and ran away. I emailed this to John, who I hadn't talked to otherwise. He didn't respond. We hadn't talked since I told him about the picture. And even rarely before then, after 2 days, during which the Gristers began touching me in my sleep, I got an answer. John was dead. His brother had the password to his email and was letting his internet acquaintances know. He had game overed. It wasn't pretty, but I'll spare you the details. John didn't seem like the type to game over to me. Had things with the Gristers really gotten that bad that they drove him to that? We didn't really know each other very well, but he hadn't mentioned anything to me. His brother said he hadn't left a note. I gave him my condolences. Now I had no one to talk to about this. Started looking online for more references or anything. All the while, the Gristers were getting more and more aggressive. I'd look over my shoulder, and there would be 1 or 2 on the windowsill, just staring at me. One time, I opened the door to my apartment. I live on the 3rd floor, and there was one about the size of a large dog staggering around at the bottom of the stairwell. Pale face flashing in and out of the darkness, baring its teeth in a growl at me. Pale limbs flashing as it bounded up the stairs. I slammed the door shut. I didn't go to work that day. And then I saw it on the news. The house that I had seen the humongous Grister at. I would have skipped right past the news story had I not seen the picture in that house. Also, hello, John. How are you? I hope you're well. The house that I had seen was right across my TV screen, with a news article titled, 8 Found Dead, 3 Alive in Sex Dungeon Raid. It actually says something different, but we're not going to say that right now. Apparently, some sick fuck had been using the basement of one of those abandoned houses as a place to keep women prisoner and kill them when they felt like it. It was a terrible fucking story, one of the worst I've ever heard. But one of the things things one of the survivors said really struck me. We were just so terrified all the time. We never knew when he was going to come in and decide to kill one of us. And he was going to really hurt us. We were just terrified all the time. Terrified all the time. And gristers had been all over the place. And when I first saw one, I had been reading Creepypasta and was pretty freaked out. Same for John. Were these things drawn to fear? Then I read that 2 of the survivors were being sent to a mental hospital for hallucinations. Did they see them? Did they see the gristers? I stopped sleeping entirely. I didn't want to wake up to those things staring at me. Stopped eating too. Whenever I wasn't at work, which was more and more often, as I called out many times when I saw gristers bigger than a cat sniffing around my building for me. I was locked in my room trying to hunt for information on the internet about these things. I just couldn't find anyone who'd actually seen them. The gristers were getting more and more violent. They were starting to scratch me and bite me with those few scant hours that I actually did nod off to sleep. I'd always freak out and sweep them away, and they'd just hiss at me. After about a week of this, I came home from work and found my cat dead. They had peeled all the skin away from her skull, giving her a look of shock. I quit my job. I cried for days. I don't have many friends, and I really love that cat. Guys, it hurts. They're not stupid guys. They don't talk, and they act differently from us, but they do have intelligence. I went out for food last week. It was the last time I will ever go out. I was sitting at the downtown bus station, shivering, looking all around me for gristers when the bus approached. I got up to get on, and out of nowhere, a grister the size of a normal man just bent over, and their walking, weird, loping gait slammed into the back of a woman next to me and threw her in front of the bus. She had no chance. I saw her slide under the wheels of the bus. I saw her blood and ruined organs squeezed out of her mouth like toothpaste. Everyone freaked out and panicked. As people rushed to her aid, the grister turned toward me and grinned. I dropped my groceries and screamed, running back to my house, sobbing all the way. They're toying with me. And that's when I finally realized why there wasn't anyone I could really talk to about gristers. Guys, how many times when people game over do you hear it reported that they were suffering from hallucinations? How many times you read the reports of people who have been in a terrible, frightening situation, like being held captive, or prisoners of war, or survivors of horrifying events? How many of them suffer from hallucinations? Sure, a lot of them are actual hallucinations. But some of them are gristers. And eventually, they figure out that you can see them. And they just start fucking with you. And I don't think everyone who they kill is driven to game over. I don't think John was driven to game over. I think they're smart. I think they know how to make something look like game over. You'll hear about it sometimes. You'll read and report about how someone just poofed. But something just isn't quite right about it. Like a man who went out and bought a new couch and then just deleted himself upon it. And guys, I am convinced that there was nothing special about John and I. I don't think there's anything special about anyone who sees these things. I think you're just more likely to see them when you're really, really scared. Since that's when they were drawn to you. I can hear them right now. It's about 3 in the morning, and it sounds like a really big one. It's outside my apartment door. It sounds like it's trying to gnaw its way through the wood. So I'm taking the easy way out. I have a rather sharp knife, and I'd rather feel that than their teeth. So please, this is my warning to you. Stop reading Creepypasta. Stop delving into the realms of horror. Turn off that game. I know you love it. I know you love frightening yourself. But you've got to stop. Every time you read it, every time you get that feeling of dread in your stomach, you're drawing the gristers just a little bit closer to you. And if you don't stop reading, at least, please, never check out those sounds in the house when you do. I didn't mean to shut it off. I meant to turn it down. So, that was the story of the Gristers. Probably one of my favorite creepypastas of all time. It plays on your fears and your paranoia, what lurks in the dark. What lurks around every corner when you are at your most scared at night. And what happens when you go looking for it. But tell me, what did y'all think of that story? I've only read this one a couple of times, but it's stuck with me very heavily. It's been years. Honestly, this is well over 10 years ago. Jesus Christ. Spooky Haunted Cafe time, apparently. One sec, we'll get that set up for you. One sec. Haunted Cafe, where? Things have been moved around, so I gotta find out where it's decided to hide itself recently. Ten out of 10. Won't ask why my cats are doing the zoomies. Sounds like a fantastic idea. Should probably not ask about the zoomies. Holy fuck. That scared the shit out of me. I swear to God, I'm gonna throw something at somebody over that. Holy shit. Someone says it looks like the spider demons from Demon Slayer. Ah. Yeah, that would make sense. They do kind of look like that. These vastly predate that. Oh, Jesus. The Gristers. Oh. Are you watching me now? I should definitely be paying attention to that. That doesn't sound pleasant at all. But why would the Gristers be watching me? Well, fuck, I know exactly what they'd be watching me. I'm just screwed then. Holy shit. But let's get some love in the chat for them, please. Let's get some hearts in the chat. A Mr. Beast burger meal. Maybe I'll get lucky and be in a video. You know, I've never tried one of those. I don't know where I could possibly get one. Give me 1 sec. I'm having to do something for the Haunted Cafe because apparently when I updated OBS, it decided to delete my Haunted Cafe scene. That's concerning. This old computer is having itself a fit, and it's having more and more fits by the day. I'm going to have to go in and change a lot of stuff around. It's not liking a lot of things right now, but I love this old machine. So I've got to make something happen with it. I've got to do a couple tweaks here and there and make it okay. But I could do that. There we go. Oh, I don't need that. There we go. Our spooky little cafe. Put this here. Move this one into the middle. There we go. I got lots of crawling gristers. There's our spooky good boys. Look at them. Look at them. I miss my spooky good boys. There we go. Let's do this. Need to be under this. There we go. Spooky good boys. We like our spooky good boys. Look at them. They're so good. They're so spooky. Oh, so spooky. Fix a couple of things there. Ah. But how are you, Forgotten Toast? I hope you're well, and I hope you're having a good day. So what did y'all think of this story? And again, thank you to the Christers for your lovely donation. Your patronage will be noted before you try to eat me, but eat zombies first. I would appreciate that. I like being a sophisticated kitty cat. Give me a little bit longer. Would appreciate. I also got to keep looking at this bar up here. If that goal is met, that man will be in a maid outfit. And I'm sorry, but I will giggle. I don't think it'll happen, but if it did, it'd be funny. Before I jump into my next few tales, I do have a question. Are there any tales out there that you thoroughly enjoy? Any spooky creepypastas that you absolutely adore? Or are there any that keep you up into the wee hours of the night? Oh, the smiling man, you say? Now that's a good one. Let's see. Excuse me. The Smiling Man. I think we'll tell that one next. It's short, but it's fun. Ah, is it fun? One that definitely used to keep Zombie up at night because he always went out for late night walks. Poor man suffers dreadfully from paranoia when he's out in the dark. Ah, Been Drowned, a true classic. It's one I sadly can't tell tonight, though. We'd be here all night. It's one of the better gaming creepypastas, but it sparked so many weird things. Another good gaming creepypasta, though, is one based on the Godzilla NES game. That one's really good, and apparently it's had a continuation recently. Kind of surprised me, but I'm very excited for it. It looks very fun. Are you all nice and cozy? Are you all having a good night? Are you enjoying these tales? I do hope so. Disney Not Dead. I think that's actually Abandoned by Disney. It's called Abandoned by Disney. That's the one you're thinking of. That one's pretty decent. It's better to hear that one than to read that one, in my opinion. So I might read that one out loud to you. Let's see. But we're going to do the Smiling Man first. I really have missed doing this. If y'all like this enough, if y'all enjoy this enough, we could possibly do more of these. I am having quite a bit of fun with it. What do you think? I know that creepypastas aren't really a big thing anymore, and I know that a lot of people don't go for them anymore, but I miss them. I miss horror being a phenomenal tour de force on YouTube. I miss all the good tales, all the good fears. We'll have to see. But if y'all like it, and we get enough support and enough screaming for it, I can see bringing it back more often. And having a good time with it. Maybe also bringing back the old SCP tales as well. Now that would also be fun. I do still love me some good SCPs. Jack the Hugger. That's not one I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with Eyeless Jack. Now, Eyeless Jack's a story to tell. It's not as well written as I remember it, though. Oh, you'd like more of these as well. I find these are the best streams to lurk to. Ones where you can just kind of unwind for a while and relax. I've even done a few videos like this. It's been a while. It's been a long while. The stories weren't that great, but they were fun. Oh, you're censoring it. Oh, I got you. I understand now. Now, I will state that I'm not going to read Jeff the Killer. Which, if that's what that one is, I'm not going to read Jeff the Killer. I'm not. That story is so abysmally written. I just... It is written by an edgelord and a half. I'm sorry, there will not be Jeff the Killer on here. There will not be. It won't happen. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Very sorry. Not sorry. But I'm sorry. What do you say we continue with the next one, though? Let's see. Let's get some more music. Have you ever heard the tale of the smiling man? If you haven't, you're in for a treat. But be careful when you go out tonight. And be even more careful when you go out on Halloween. The tone is chill and the content is chilling. That's splendid, Kami. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the U.S. I've always been a night person, so I'd often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I'd used to go for long walks to spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all of that changed in just a few minutes of one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning. And if I were you, I'd be very worried, Panda. And I was walking near a police-patrolled park, quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weekend, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street on my side was the silhouette of a man dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. I decided he was probably drunk. I'd stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. But the closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was a very tall and lanky man. He was wearing an old suit. He danced closer still until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wild cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street, and as I reached the other side, I glanced back. And then I stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but I kept my eyes on that man. He didn't move. Once I'd put about a half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and the sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he'd been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved until I noticed him. He had crossed the street, was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he'd moved fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time, staring at him. And then he started moving toward me again. I took giant, exaggerated tiptoe steps, as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone. Except for he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away, or I pulled out my pepper spray, or my cell phone, or anything at all, but I didn't. I stood there completely frozen as the smiling man crept toward me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling his smile, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. What I meant to ask was, "What do you want?" In an angry, commanding tone. But what came out was a whimper of, "What?" Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to that at all. He just stood there, smiling. Then, after what felt like forever, he turned around, very slowly, and started dance walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go, until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. But then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. I ran too. I ran until I was off the side road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found the rest of the way home. I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile. But he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about that face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane. And that's a very, very scary thing to see. And that is the Smiling Man. That'll definitely make you be very careful when you go out at night. It'll definitely make it hard for you to stay out at night on your own, especially for a late night stroll through the park. I think I'd avoid that like the plague. Unless I was going out for some tuna. We might go out for some tuna. I could really go for some tuna right now. That I could do. I could be all about that. So, what did y'all think of the Smiling Man? It's a fairly short story, but honestly, it's a story that unnerves me sometimes because it could be real. It could be something that could easily happen, an encounter that any of us could have one day. A man who's definitely not okay, slowly, creepily just dancing around, smiling from ear to ear in a painful smile as he gazes up at the moon, but never losing track of you as he goes. I think it would scare me out of my wits. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running, bitch. Take it you're not a fan, Byron. Can't say that I blame you all too much. I can tell I've been in this tone for far too long because I've reverted back to the accent that I have tried to hide from everybody for like the last 12 years. So it comes out usually when I'm mad, but when you feel like home, you feel like home, I guess. I agree. Sometimes the short ones are absolutely the best ones. Absolutely. Sometimes people are the scary monsters. I will definitely give you that. Absolutely. From some of the things I've seen in my life, I would definitely agree with you there. Absolutely. Are there any other stories that you would like to hear? Any others that keep you up at night? Any others that worry you? Any others that you want to help give others here a sleepless night with? I'd be more than happy to share with everybody. It's a creepy dog. That was because it was filling my timeline from friends. Ah, the smile dog. Now that's an old one. Lord, is that an old one. Let's see. You had a what now? You had a what, Panda? Are you a rat, Panda? The smiling man didn't get you, did he? I really hope he didn't. That would be a sad day indeed. We like our panda around here. I had a good night dashing and listening to this while it's raining. I gotcha. I do ever so love the rain. Absolutely. Let's see what we can find for you next. What would be a good one for all of you lovely zombies out there? Let's see. I think I might have one.
My family lives beside.
No. I was looking for a story, not an audiobook. There we go. Have a good night, Panda. Take care. Sleep well and have pleasant nightmares. I think this one will work. Let's see. Let's find you something fun. Let's see. Ah, the bots are here. Hello, strange man in my headphones. Let's see. All right. I think I have one for you. It's small, it's sweet, but I think it'll work. But before I do, let me give credit where credit is due for this one. This one, the author can be easily found. This one is made by someone known as Jordan Group. Let's go ahead and grab their page here. They have both a YouTube and a Reddit. And they posted this to Reddit. So before we do this, let's go show them some love for some creepy storytelling. What do you say? Let's see. I want to make sure I give proper credit before I do anything. Okay, yes, okay. This is them. Go show them some love here. There we go. This is a tale called The Pumpkin Man. Let's see what happens when you meet the Pumpkin Man. Have fun outside, my wife yelled out to our children as they ran out the front door. And be careful, I shouted after them. We were all a little on edge since kids have been going missing around the area recently. Not in our neighborhood, of course, mostly in poor sections of town. Sound of the bell atop the Pumpkin Man's truck could be heard outside, and I breathed a sigh of relief. My wife looked visibly less concerned as well. Pumpkin Man was so familiar around here. He was almost like a good neighbor you could trust to babysit. Felt safer having him around when the kids were out playing. He'd look out for them. Stay close to the Pumpkin Man's truck, my wife called from the door. The kids were already at his windows where he was showing them pumpkins of various sizes and shapes. Gesticulating like a stage magician, he waved at us, smiling his odd, orange-hued eyes glinting in the sun. My wife and I closed the front door and went inside to watch television. We had an episode of Survivor on the DVR we've been meaning to watch. Are they finally gone? Christine asked. Yes, baby, they're gone. It's props time. We clicked on the television and smiled, letting our eyes unfocus as we stared at the flickering lights on the screen, telling us a story. The next morning, the kids were gone. My wife said she thought they'd spent the night at a friend's house, but they hadn't mentioned anything to me about it. She checked the calendar on her phone and her eyes widened. Wait. The sleepover isn't until tomorrow night. So where the hell are the kids? I shouted, raising to my feet in a panic. I don't know. My wife was screaming. She ran outside, hoping maybe somehow, miraculously, they were out playing in the front yard, just as we'd seen them last. But when we got out there, all we saw were more grown-ups weeping and calling out, their eyes searching the street. Billy? Jesse? Sally? Where are you? But there was no answer. Until the tinkling sound of the Pumpkin Man's truck began to sing. And he came up the street towards us. The head of every child in the neighborhood was arranged on the windowsill of his truck, like soda cans on display for purchase. "Ha! Finally!" he said as he braked to a stop. "Finally, some adults I can sell to. I hate kids. They never have any money but grown-ups. Ha ha! Now that's where the action is." I tried to say something, to scream or do anything, but I was frozen, staring at the faces of my children. My children's heads were moving and rocking back and forth, making agonized howls of pain, despite having no bodies. They were still alive somehow. Okay. Who wants to buy their favorite pumpkin? We'll start the bidding at 10,000. Oh, that is quite clever. That's clever indeed. Your children are your little pumpkins. That's oh. Wow. That was horrible and cute all at the same time, in a very fucked up way. This is from Horror Short Stories. Place of horror and thrills in 500 words or less. That was absolutely phenomenal. That was cute. That was well done. Pumpkin Man has straight up yokai vibes there. Indeed. It seems like one of those tales you would hear as a kid. That the creepy man will take you away. You'll be spirited away, basically. That was neat. Alright, everyone. It's starting to get close to midnight. And we're going to have to start getting ready soon. Z and Zombaby are going to have themselves a very, very busy day tomorrow. And probably throughout the rest of the week as well. Or weekend, that is. But I hope you enjoyed tonight's story. I hope you enjoyed tonight's tales. I hope you had a good time tonight. I hope you had fun with this. I know we don't usually do Thursday events, but I thought this would be pretty fun to give y'all... I have hiccups now out of nowhere. How does a cat get hiccups? Holy crap. That's gotta stop. Yes, if y'all want more of this, just be sure to let me know. Of course, punch the like button and all that other good jazz. But also be sure to tell Z to let me take over a little more often. Let him know that you want it. And I'll be back with more scary tales very soon. Hairball. Indeed. But no, this was an absolute blast. Since we're ending early tonight, though, we can probably hit a raid fairly easily. Have someone that I'm actually wanting to go raid if they're still live. I think we can see. Let's see, who all's here tonight? Who all's still alive? Oh. We can do something we never get to do tonight. we can go raid Otteron. What do you say we go raid Otteron? Go show Otteron some love. Also, don't worry, we will be doing the actual bonfire, campfire stories very soon. So do get hyped and do get excited. Those will be coming as well. We just gotta get some dry logs and not leave them out in the rain anymore. Ah, that was stupid. But yes, let's grab things and let's get ready. Yes, let's throw some orange and purple hearts in there. Let's do this in Otteron fashion. Let's raid in Otteron style. But let's do so in zombie colors. What do you say? Also, if you really like this and you want more like it, we could also do SCP Storytime again. It has been a hot minute since we've done that. Thank you for being here. As you all know, this has been Ashford, the spooky cat. And I'm hanging out on Zombie Go Nom channel. Remember to take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, have pleasant nightmares. I will see you all again very, very soon, and wish Z and Zombaby luck on their ventures this weekend. Apparently, they may also have more content coming throughout the course of the convention. So be sure to wish them luck. Well, good night, Lana. I hope you've been well. I hope you've been enjoying the spooky stories, too. I will indeed. I will tell them to have fun. I guarantee you they'll have fun. It'll be a blast. But have a wonderful night, everyone. Pleasant nightmares to you all. And thank you again for coming out here. And seriously, thank you all for all the support y'all gave us. And thank you for gifting us with an absolutely wonderful anniversary. Be sure to take care, everyone. And we'll be back live again, guaranteed on Halloween, for an absolute bash and a blast. And it's fine that you're coming in at the end of the stream, Alana. We're going to be going forth and raiding Otteron, so you can go and show some more love to the Bongo Man himself. From one cat to another cat, we're going to keep this. We're going to keep the excitement going. But take care, everyone. And as always, pleasant nightmares. Also, remember, we're putting in orange and purple hearts. That's what we want to do. Orange and purple hearts for this one. Orange and purple hearts for this one. We're going to do this Bongo Man style. Night, everyone.